One. And we're live here. Welcome back, everybody. I don't really care what session we are anymore because it's been an absolute shadowy vampiric shit show with teeth everywhere. And speaking of teeth, Fernaleus, how's your mouth? It's a big split lip, I believe.
I don't know. I'm unconscious.
Yeah, right. So we last left our rogues on a stairway when the warden of what you assume to be the slave quarters in this vampire's castle came upon you when Fernaleus was inspecting, we'll say, a young woman who seemingly had been used as a possibly a food source of some kind for whatever vampires who had partaken of her. There was a bit of a scuffle. This elder vampire stuck Fernaleus in the teeth, and he had lost a couple of them. Fernaleus is now slung across the shoulders of a shoulder of this vampire, and he is leading you through the catacombs up into the upper castle.
I think it was more like a bully beatdown.
Was he? Oh, either way, someone got stuck in the teeth.
Yeah.
He pauses as you're standing on this stairwell. He's reaching out to push the door at the top of the staircase open, and you hear music and merriment, string instruments, wind instruments. Couple of these tunes might sound maybe a little overly enchanting to our Amorous Thorn, but this vampire pauses, and he just kind of looks back over his right shoulder, and he regards you two. It might be best if we disarm this whelp. He just kind of reaches up and unbelts the broadsword and just hands it off to Tane. I'm assuming Tane is the next in line.
He takes it with a half smile.
The master of the house would like his guests to be presented to him in organic fashion, sterile conditions, per se. He goes and polices a dagger on Fernaleus's belt and hands these items off to Tane. As he pushes the door ahead of you, the torchlight of the chamber above illuminates some brightly colored tapestries from many different places around the world. Some alien cultures depicted at play or at war. You step out into this chamber from the dust and the cobwebs into a lavish and clean and despite your immediate hosts being vampires, it's actually quite pleasant here. As you enter the chamber, some of the inhabitants of this chamber, and as well as the minstrels, they stop their playing and they regard the four of you. The floor is yours, gentlemen.
I rolled an 18 on the self-control. Do I give in to the music or do I withstand it?
Oh, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to, not play along?
Yeah, I'm trying to not get swept up in the music.
There is no sorcery in there, but it's just very you can catch yourself swaying with it.
Okay, but I'm not like stopping everything. Like I know it's not sorcery, but still, like when you walk in a room and you can't help but go to the source of music. I'm not doing that.
No, but you're like, oh, that's actually quite pretty.
Okay.
Okay. You're able to hold it
So-
together besides that.
Okay. Fangirl a little bit inside.
You're like, okay, hang on. We
Okay.
got to be cool. We got to be cool.
Is it time for a jam session or?
We got a job. No, Amos would watch Fern get disarmed. He'll see the doors open. Yeah, like when the doors first open and that symphony of music come over, you are going to see him kind of glass over for a second. Oh, that's really pretty. Okay, wait, where were we? Okay. He'll look at Tane, see how Tane's doing, especially after the debacle back in the feeding room. But for the most part, Amos is kind of just seeing how things are going to go. He's not really being defensive or offensive or anything. He's kind of relaxed right now and just hoping to take a breather for a second.
Tane's got his eyes kind of half slit, and he's sort of looking at his surroundings, taking it in, but you might think that his mind is somewhere else. He's aware of his surroundings, but he seems to be calculating something. And you see his jaw kind of clench and unclench abnormally, like he is kind of gritting his teeth, and as he slings the Fern's sword and rest of his items, and he kind of grins to himself, and he mutters something, but you can't really make out what he says under his breath.
The elder vampire carrying Fernaleus. He pauses as he looks upon the other vampires in the room, and he just gives them a curt nod, and he says a few things, a few short explanatory things you can assume by his tone, in a language that you don't understand. These minstrels that are for Amorus's benefit here, it is 2 lutes, a pan flute, and a lap harp. The vampire looks at you two, and he notices the kind of like the glazed over look on Amorous just a few moments, and you see a smirk on the corner of his lips, but it disappears as quickly as it came, and he looks at Tane. Shall we tarry a moment? What's on your mind? He readjusts Fern on his shoulder.
Correct.
Thanks, Keith. We're talking to you, Tane.
Yeah, and he's kind of quiet. Did you see my question in chat?
Yeah. I just now saw it. Yeah. You can have the tea.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
No problem with that.
So I kind of, as he looks up, he holds it. You see him palming something, and he says, "What was the question again?" I was lost in thought.
Shall we tarry a moment? You look like you need a moment.
Oh, I'm ready to keep moving.
Fair enough. Come along then. And he leads you into the bowels of this castle. From the outside, you really only caught glimpses of it just on the edge of like the haze of the horizon there. And this place is a complex built into the mountain. There is a keep and a palisade on top, but there's so much more, no pun intended, beneath the iceberg, if you will. You find yourselves up a set of stairs, around a corner, through a handful of galleries, out into an enormous ballroom, what it looks like. And where there's possibly hundreds of individuals in here, and they're all clearly vampires, having a grand old time for whatever sort of merriment vampires get up to in this sort of place. There is a lingering darkness here, so palpable that it, in your mortal mouths, it kind of leaves a kind of a stink and a tang of like the grave, despite the perfumes and the lavishly dressed individuals here. There's something uncannily wrong about all of this, but it's not potent enough to corrupt your hearts further. You just, it's there, but it's almost beneath your senses enough for you to recognize it, but not to be faltered by it. You see a throne at one end of this courtroom, and what looks to be a group of delegates on either side. This elder vampire strides up this red center carpet to stand just a few feet away from the dais, and he, maybe a little too cruelly, he just drops Fern, just full kit, full ebon armor, straight shot to the floor with a crash, and just for the sake of thematic purpose here, Fern, you catch the first marble step on your left eyebrow with a resounding crack. It just echoes throughout this vaulted ceiling, and the rest of the vampires like, ooh, oh. Couple of the nearest elder vampires look on with this, oh, it's gonna be once a day to the mailbox for this guy for the rest of his life. Oh, and you wake up. Your face hurts, and that next instant when your eyes flutter open, a boot is in your throat, holding you pinioned to the tile floor.
I'm going to do a self-control check real quick because he's waking up and being what he feels to be possibly assaulted here.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear Tane maliciously sort of chuckling to himself. He seems to be enjoying this.
All right, that's going to be a 23 total for his self-control.
Oh, wow, that's pretty damn good for your current state.
Yeah. So
all right.
So yeah, he'll blink his eyes open, and I'm thinking with that high of level, maybe the mortal side would have for a moment surfaced, and he is going to look up, and he's, Fern's mortal side is not an aggressive person.
The first thing you see is the elder vampire from before. His fangs are bared, and he snarls at you as he looks down with hatred in his eyes.
Fern will try to open his eyes wide. Of course, only one will open properly because the other one's probably getting a bit of swelling right now. So he, of course, he instinctively reaches for the boot. Of course, he probably can't move that. So
nope.
It's okay. He'll hold his hands out in a show of supplication. That, as if to say, I'm no threat. So, but he obviously can't speak because there's a boot on his throat.
Just for the sake.
So what did it sound like, though?
A squeak?
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
The vampire warden, he lifts his heel up slightly, give you a little bit of breathing room, and he snarls, "What was that?"
I apologize. I don't. What have I done to offend you? He looks like he has a vague recollection of what happened. And it's sort of starting to come back, and he's like, you see his tongue work in his mouth and touch the spots where he had teeth before, and it starts coming back to him, and he pauses for a moment and looks up, and you sort of start seeing the consciousness properly come back into his eyes, and he says in his best courtly wording, "I sincerely apologize for any offense I may have offered to you, great sir. I was not in my right mind."
This particular vampire looks at his shoulder, it's his left foot, left boot in your throat. He looks over his right shoulder at your companions with this look of, "Is that good enough for you two?"
Amherst is just going to nod his head. He was hoping for a breather, and something is taking him away from the music, and he just doesn't have any words right now, so he's just going to nod.
He looks at Tane with the same look.
Tane was kind of watching Amherst speak, and then he looks his head over. "No, I think he needs a little more conditioning, tenderizing. He doesn't sound sincere enough."
He'll be sincere when the master of the house returns with his father.
Possibly.
Fern, of course, is at the words of Tane. He can't move his head, obviously, because he's pinned, but he sort of looks toward Tane with this almost a pleading look to his eye. And he's like, "Tane, what did I do to you?"
You risked all of our lives, all three of us. Your actions were just reckless and inconsiderate. What is with you?
He's of course he's doing his best. He wants to take that boot and move it, but he's not doing that because he sort of senses that if he touches that boot, it's probably going to come down further on his windpipe and cut off his air again.
He could, from where you're laying, he could press.
Yeah.
He could press his foot into your neck and basically curb stomp you the backwards way against that first step. So yeah,
right. Yeah, it'd be a bad thing. So yeah, he's being very tentative of that, and he looks up and he looks over it, or tries to look over toward Amherst, and he's, "Thorn, a little help here? You know me, man."
As Tane said he needs more conditioning, and then the other guy mentions the master and Iridian coming back, you hear under his breath, but pretty audibly, of, "Oh, for fuck's sake." And he opened his eyes back up and looked up at the guy with his foot on Fern's throat and says, "Can you please let my compatriot up?" They both, and he will look at Fern, then at Tane, they both have not been themselves as of late.
Well, I don't know about that, but my father used to always say that sometimes you just need a little extra beating to understand what you've done wrong.
See, this vampire cuts Tane off by saying, "Remember just a moment, don't beat your children. That's how they make them tough on the glacier and the ice. Is this true?"
Training. It was called training.
Oh. Yeah.
Yes.
One culture's capital punishment is another culture's conditioning. I see. He removes his boot from his throat, but puts it on Fern's chest to keep him pinioned to the floor.
It's all right though. He wasn't raised as hard, and he's somewhat soft.
Yeah, Fern takes a deep breath. He tries to. Of course, his chest rises, and he probably gets a bit of a pressure there. Okay. And coughs a bit to clear his throat, and reaches up and, checks his head, and touches his eye above his eyebrow where the blow to the head happened, and checks his teeth. And he says, I do apologize. I'm at a disadvantage here, sir. I do not know your name or your position. I do apologize if I have offended you or yours. I had never seen a place where what's the term? Donors were kept before, and I was fascinated.
He takes a long moment to reply. It's apparent to you guys very obviously that you are not the only ones in this courtroom, and you are very much a sideshow for several dozen, maybe 150 other vampires in here. They're having a fantastic time. This is a party to them. And this vampire, he introduces himself as Talalok. I am the warden of the servant quarters in this house, and you are going to feed upon these servants that did not belong to you. And I am not a larder boy. I am a warden.
At that point, Fernless, it starts coming back to him, and he hears in his own mind a bit of a laugh in the back of his head, and that was not a kind thing nor a wise thing for me to have said. I do sincerely apologize, and I ask that I be allowed to make penance to you for that insult. Warden Talalok.
That will be decided when your sire and the master return. For now, you will be laying down on your back like the filthy thing that you are. Until then.
As you wish. At this point, Fern is starting to sort of look around and notice that he's not, as his adult brain is starting to come back to full focus. He's noticing that he's not alone. It's not just the three of them and this guy. He's no longer in the larder. He's in a bigger, larger hall. What is the ceiling level, by the way? Just out of curiosity.
The ceiling level?
Yeah, above me, since I'm on my back looking up.
It goes up into darkness. You don't see the ceiling.
Interesting.
It is vaulted up there.
Okay.
But you will see a bat or two. You will see a bat or two up there.
All right. So he'll move his head around to look at the rest of the others here, and
very beautiful faces. It is a festival of nations here. Some cultures you've never seen before.
And of course, his mind starts working about the stories he'd get from these people if he had a chance. While he's in this state, basically, he looks up at Talalok and he says, "I did not think I would be in this position when I finally met my father.
Well, that's your own damn fault, isn't it?
It is. It is. It is. Although he looks over at Tane, and there's a little bit of a darkness in his eyes when he does. He says, for the most part.
His boot presses down on your breastplate when you look at Tane, and he goes, "Don't worry about him. Worry about me right now. Never mind him."
Yes. He focuses back on Talala.
And before he turns his head back, I just mouth the words, "Never mind me."
Talalok's back is full upon Tane, and he's got this sinister confidence about him that he does not sweat the Shadow Bane in the party whatsoever. So keep that in mind where the food chain is. There's a few really awkward moments where a couple of side conversations pick back up, but you guys are being eyed, people gossiping or whatever, and I'm not gonna make you roll for it, but there is one such individual amongst the crowd that you guys don't like, but it's not who you're thinking about. I'm just gonna let that roll around in the head. Your head's there for a moment.
So yeah, Fern is going to do his best not to be a nuisance, as in laying as still as possible. Although his face and his head are throbbing, and he looks up at Talalok and he says, "May I offer a word of I don't know if you would call it insight or a thought?"
You offer your thoughts to me, half-breed. Oh, I must hear this. Let's all hear it. Speak clearly.
The lower levels are fairly easy to enter. I was somewhat surprised by it. Is it that you get guests that way often? I didn't notice there was a banner outside the gate. As if maybe you occasionally expect guests that way. I've just not seen a castle of that make and that with that kind of an entrance before. So my curiosity was piqued.
There is some secretism there, but there is also certain guests use certain doors. We'll put it that way. There's kind of like a rather antagonistic chuckle that goes through the crowd.
We were only driven there for fear of our companion, Payne. He took a nasty blow to the head from a thing that all but laid him low.
Young man, what have I told you about Payne? Never mind him.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Shall I? Well,
be quiet? Yes.
Okay. And with that, I'm going to do a self-control check real quick. I got to see if okay, that one, because there is a part of him that wants to be bad. That is a 15 for that one, a little bit lower. So a bit of that fire comes to his eyes, but he does actually shut up.
Oh. Smart kid.
Yeah.
Just a few moments later, these that's perfectly fine for Amherst to be doing that. Actually, as an aside, I'm not going to make you roll for it, but your particular brand of actually your presentation of the Fey tone. Your tone of playing is very much appreciated by your current audience. A few moments later, as this music kind of washes over the crowd here, side conversations end as a powerful vampiric presence enters the room from a sweeping staircase above you and to your left. A fair amount of these vampires actually shudder at the approach of this being, and as you look up, you see a fair, almost a blisteringly white, stark white individual with raven black hair. Surprisingly looks very Umbriad, but there's just something touch of the non-Fey about him as he unnaturally glides down the stair and walks by you. Tane in particular, you will sense from your background, this is likely the most powerful entity of the dark that you've ever encountered, and your experience with it, as well as your level of corruption right now, is it almost fortifies you against it. Like it's a dread, it's a fear, but it's not I'm going to run away in terror. It's this is a beast I need to study first before I make any moves.
Yeah, and I would imagine that the darkness that's currently corrupting me is emboldening me somewhat as well. Not that I realize the predicament if I were to attack him, but
of course, yes. This ancient being, out of the corner of his eye, he just specifically looks at you, and he doesn't say anything, but surprisingly, he gives you a very brief, very almost unnoticeable nod of acknowledgement, and almost an enigmatic, almost Mona Lisa-like smirk as he sits down on this throne, and his shadow moves behind him, maybe like a couple seconds a little too late, and then dissipates behind his throne. Like his shadow moves somewhat independently of him. He sits down and looks upon the three of you and just expressionless, taking you in.
Fern can't help but actually watch as he goes by. He had been staring up at Talalak, of course, focusing on him. But as soon as that presence came into the room, his eyes were drawn, and he watches this figure walk by, and it's almost as if he's aware of Talalak, but that thing seems to now have become, I guess, the predator inside of him recognizes an alpha.
Oh yeah.
And understands that basically that I am going to be a good boy. I'm not going to cause waves here. So he basically goes almost deathly still. The only thing moving is his chest very slowly as he breathes in and out. As he looks at this figure, he very particularly does not look at his face though.
A few moments later, an individual who looks almost carbon copy of Fernaleus walks out from what looks like a side chamber just beyond the darkness. Picture Fernaleus if he was an older fae, had facial hair, and wore his hair long, but and not in a ponytail, more or less in the braids of the ebon folk that inhabit the lands outside the city. Not like dreadlocks, but just multiple braids held together with rings and such. And this individual, the newcomer, comes and stands next to Talalak, and Talalak gives him a nod and a smile. They're allowed to show their fangs here, strangely enough, especially to each other. Ridian bows to, obviously, the master of the house, and when he bows, out of the corner of his eye, he sees Fernaleus there on the floor. In these few moments, I'd like a soliloquy from Fernaleus as your father is bent over, like 45-degree angle, slightly very, very respectful bow, and you finally look upon someone who looks suspiciously like you.
So Fern had been drawn to that first figure that came in, and at first did not even notice the other one enter the room. As the motion catches the corner of his eye, he rolls his eyes up to see this figure, and he sees him bow, and his face comes into his view. And Fernaleus, it feels almost like his heart stops for a moment. He looked at himself in the mirror before, and especially when he was younger, and he sees a lot of the same features there. The eyes are slightly different, but he sees the same nose, certain cut of the jaw underneath the beard looks to be as if it's his. Of course, he does not see the Umbriad, but it would be as if he had taken an Umbriad and cast it into a different form. He sees the red in the beard and the hair, and he recognizes the occasional glints of red he gets in his own hair. One of the things that the other Umbriad ladies when he was younger were mocked upon. The fact that though his hair was black, it reflected a bit of the red when light struck it just right. He thinks to himself, this is not how I wanted it to be. And before he realizes it, well, actually, before he utters it, he gets the it stops and doesn't utter anything. To an extent, that part of him deep down doesn't want to draw attention to himself. He's already conspicuous in front of this alpha that's there. And then he sees his sire. And though he wishes to, with all his heart and all his soul, to speak and ask, and of course, as any child would, when he is in a situation that is dire, instinctually wants to call out to his father for help. But he pauses and stops himself, hold fairly high on his self-control. And he just sort of, if anything, he goes more limp, as if he's just given up at that very moment. And the only thing that actually escapes his lips is a very, very quiet sigh.
I would imagine that it's about this time that Tane has finished what he was doing. He had found a table off to the side with a cistern of water, and he rinsed off the teeth. And he approaches his father and he says, "My lord, if I may, I have a gift for you."
Ridian, he pauses. He stands up straight and he pauses.
As any father would like, it's the teeth of your child. I go to pour him into his hand. He lost teeth. Hopefully the new ones will grow back soon.
He lost a little bit of face too. I'm just saying.
Point of inspiration, Dave. Anyway, so Ridian is standing there with Fernaleus' his left fang and two of the adjacent teeth, and he just kind of moves them around his palm, and he says, "I've been told that my eldest is here. I didn't expect I'd have his teeth." He just looks past you. "Where is he? Where's my son?"
Fernaleus says, almost in a sepulchrally cold voice, "I'm here." An odd calm came over him as soon as Tane put those teeth into his father's hands.
Shit.
My lord, may I present to you your son, Fernaleus? And I step back, and the barbaric court-like gestures, if you will.
In just for the sake of the audience and you guys, where he's oriented, obviously the master of the house is in his dais, and you guys are in his throne. You guys are like 10 feet below him. You're right there at the bottom of the stairs. Tlaloc is standing in between Ridian and Fernaleus, so he actually doesn't see the body on the floor. So as he's turned around, Tlaloc is standing right next to him. He hasn't turned around yet, and he's facing you guys. So out of in orientation to Ridian, that's his right-hand side. Fernaleus says, "I'm here." He just turns, and Fern, you'll see your father lean forward and peek around Tlaloc's his left hip to see you on the floor. And he smiles and goes, "Oh, well, good morning, my boy. Tlaloc, why do you have him on the floor?" "He was trying to eat the master's food." "Oh. All right, then. Has he been punished for it?" "His companions actually stopped me before I was able to brutally beat him." "Well, he deserves a severely deadly beating. He should know the rules. He's been here long enough." Talking about Fern like he's not even here.
And Taines kind of clears his throat and says, "Important note, I opted for more beatings, and Amorous overruled me."
Ridian he takes the teeth and actually just puts them in a belt pouch. Just pockets those. Those are his now.
You know, in his defense and playing devil's advocate here, this is our first room we've seen like that, and we were not informed of the rules. I'm just saying.
Yes, there were two.
Quiet, you.
Fern shuts up, but you're seeing that that coldness come back into his eyes, and he nods.
Viridian turns around. He looks up the stairway to the master of the house, and he goes, "My apologies. I had hoped to return home and then seek out my bastard child, and he has come here to visit all of us. My apologies, Moldark. I had no idea that he was here." And at mention of the master's name, Moldark, he just smiles, and when he smiles, it's like the banner. He's got fangs on the top row as well as the bottom row. Unsettling as all hell. As well, if he is yours, and by right, he belongs to you. Talalok knows the rules. You know the rules. And Fernaleus, the dead fairy baby, should know the rules by now. And you two may negotiate what his fate is. You may leave whenever you wish. As Talalok, he softens for a moment, like, "Oh shit! All right, cool, awesome." Cause that just washes over him, and he stoops. He grabs a fistful of Fernaleus's collar as well as like the rim of the breastplate, and he hauls you to your feet and shoves you in the direction of the door headlong before him, as he is attempting to lead all of you out of this courtroom.
All right. Just so you know, for the because I wanted to see if I would actually be able to do it. Just a balance check real quick. It's a 32.
Okay.
So he stumbles as he's pushed, obviously, from the deal, but he recovers, keeps himself from falling, straightens his breastplate, and heads toward the door. Doesn't look back, doesn't react to anything at all.
Just ramrod militaristic
Well,
upright.
to an extent, as if he's trying to sort of recover a very small amount of his dignity.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll walk toward the door, accepting of whatever fate, I guess, is going to befall him, because at this point he has no means of changing that fate, since they will not let him speak yet.
Outside this this hall, in what looks like an antechamber, the three of you plus Talalok and Ridian, obviously, and several mortal guards, actually. You have some relative privacy here. And we will reopen the scene. The floor is yours.
Fern is very literally he's going to walk out and then see if they follow. And of course, if he says they do, he is not going to make the effort to speak or anything unless he is spoken to and asked a direct question, because he apparently has gotten the idea that he is not allowed to say anything to these two. He would like to. There are times when his mouth moves as if he's about to speak, but he clamps his mouth shut each time he thinks about it. He has one of his hands is almost without thought clinging into a bit of a fist against his side, as he's sort of trying to control that impulse, because that war is on again inside of him. It's between the light and the dark. And it's this time, though, it seems to be the opposite. It's the mortal Fern wanting to speak, wanting to plead his case, wanting to talk to these, and the darker half, the vampiric half, just say, "Shut up, shut up. They're higher than you. Shut up." don't speak. You'll enrage them. They'll kill us. And Fern himself in his mind going, but I need to put my case. He'd let know what's going on. I need to let them know that what happened to us, what was been perpetrated upon us. And I mean, so it's a back and forth in his mind as his eyes dart from the two faces, not knowing which one he's waiting for a command from.
Rydian actually takes the lead and leads you into what looks to be like a side lobby area, and he just stands on the other side of the room from you guys.
Fern's eyes, of course, will take in every bit of him, up and down, and actually, is it all of us there? Or is it just me and the two of them?
The entire party and the two vampires are there.
Okay.
All of you are there.
Okay. He'll look at Thorn, sort of assessing, make sure he's okay. He'll glance at Tane, and as he does, there a bit of that anger flares up of the insult of handing off his teeth of all things, actually collecting them in the first place. And he will look and he'll take a deep breath, expecting and brace himself for the expected backhand or whatever. And he just looks and says, he looks at Talala, to Talala, and he says, "May I speak?" In a quiet voice.
He points to a chair and says nothing.
Okay, well, Fern will walk over then and put himself in the chair.
You may.
Thank you. And he looks over to his father, and he says, "Lord Rydian, I did not. My hope was not to meet you in this fashion. So,
Well, that's out of the question now, isn't it, boy?
Yes, and I do apologize for any problems I may have caused you. Myself, my friend Amherst Thorn, and Tane Hallmain were brought here some chains ago.
I'm aware.
And this Ophira person was, of course, the conveyor of us, and we have been wandering about this land since, seemingly from place to place. I did not even know that you were here until I was informed not long ago by the guests at your keep.
I have guests at my keep. Who resides at my keep?
You have two ladies that are residing at your keep currently. You may, I'm sure, know of them. My brain is addled at the moment from the blow that I took earlier. Their names escape me for the moment. Tenelok, I know, is one that serves them.
Oh, if Tenelok is with him, that's Adra and Fane.
Yes, Adra
They're
and
fine.
Fane.
They can be there, just so long as they don't break the chandelier like they did last time.
They seem to have a merry time, though I don't believe there was anything broken. At least when we left, there wasn't. I think I was, and he looks at him at his father. He just for a moment that whole coldness breaks from me. He says, "I think I was brought here as a joke."
The vampires look at each other. They just smile. They just look back at you, and they both say at the same time, "Yes."
He doesn't really frown. He just sort of gets that
Aw, shit.
uncomfortable look on his face as he looks over at Thorn. And he looks at Thorn. Thorn, he says, "I apologize, my friend." Looks back at the vampires. Yes, he does not apologize to Tane. He looks back at the two vampires, And he said, well, I hope a merry time has been had by all.
I wouldn't say a merry time. This is Rydian speaking. It's actually quite a mess. I had found out that Farad had found you some chains ago and brought you to Miserine by some skullduggery, and I didn't find out until recently that you had two companions.
Yes. We had been promised employ and adventure of all things, which we have definitely been granted the latter, though the former was not forthcoming. And we awoke in a field in the middle of nowhere, apparently dumped like trash on the side of the road.
Yeah, this is what Adra told me. Yeah, some days ago.
Yes. So since then, we've been making our way through as best we can to finally find your home. And then from there, of course, that is where I discovered that it would be a merry jest had I been found in your castle. And I don't trust those women. Just
smart lad, says Tlaloc.
Thus, me and my companions decided to leave. We were basically just going out to sort of explore the area and find out more about our surroundings. Found ourselves near that bog and encountered the thing there, which laid Tane Halfmain low, though we were able to nurse him back to health and save his life in the end. And through compassion, we decided to try to find the closest place where he may find aid. As you see, and at first he goes to almost he's going to stand up and walk over there and show, but he stops. And he sort of very gently gestures toward Tane and says, as you can see, his scalp is laid open in the back.
He's still wearing his bandages, but
had we not intervened, I believe his brain would have fallen out of his skull. So.
Tlaloc puts in that bog and that cemetery on the edge of the bog is haunted with all sorts of devils and evil spirits.
So we discovered.
A little less now.
We sought shelter, entered a cave, and heard the sounds of a blacksmith, thinking that it's possible that someone within might be able to render aid to our friendly foe, but so the sound found ourselves in the larder, where I was intrigued by what I saw. And at that point, he looks over at Tlaloc and says, and Sir Warden, I can assure you I was not attempting to feed. I was only curious.
Tlaloc just looks at your companions with this really look, but
Yes,
says nothing.
Tane himself may have thought to put the poor girl out of her misery, as that is his wont when situations like that arise.
You hear that big wagon? I feel like I'm being thrown under a wagon here.
Mm-hmm. But I meant no offense. Unfortunately, as I said, I had, with the encounters with the spirits and some other things, such as cursed pieces of flesh that may have been thrust upon me. He looks at that, put over to Tane once again. He says, I was not in my right mind.
Well, I'm definitely glad you're not talking to yourself in that annoying voice anymore. Iamrus can speak to this.
Rydian just looks on, saying, annoying voice, talking to himself.
Oh,
Did
yes.
you bring a simpleton to me?
No.
I think
Father, I am no simpleton.
Well, in his defense, I think knocking out his teeth brought him back to some sense.
Well, thank you, Tlaloc, for beating some sense into my son. Tlaloc just
Speaking of wagon,
bows low.
Speaking of wagon, though, we still have one down there.
Talalak just, he says, not anymore. Your things
You
have
get
been
a-
taken care of.
You get a crooked smile from Fern looking at Tame at that. As if, the tables have turned now.
I don't necessarily trust being taken care of if you harken back to the beginning of our tale of being just left.
Well, allow me to explain. When I say, this is Talalak speaking, when I say you are taken care of, I do not mean it in the same way that Farad and Ophira's people mean taken care of. Your things have been sequestered in a safe space.
Well, I
Do
thank
not
you.
worry.
Speaking of taking care of things, and he kind of takes a rag and he walks over and offers it to Fern. You might want to clean up the blood on the front of your breastplate, friend.
He looks down, looks up at Tame, takes the cloth and says, thank you, wipes it off, and he says, please if you would please, and this is a solemn request, be careful with the mayor. She's special.
Talalak simply says, I know what a shaman of Akyun looks like when I see one.
Was it the horsehair tunic? I'm trying.
No.
It wasn't. Okay.
You actually hear under his breath, Fern, no, it's the smell.
Yeah.
He just sort of smiles as if he didn't say anything.
Yeah, we need to get some salt for Fern. At least try to, keep the gums from bleeding too much.
It's a small thing. So I'll heal on my own. And he says, but he looks up at the two and he says, I believe, and though I do not wish to hasten my fate, that is what is to be discussed here. So what shall my fate be?
Ridian takes a long time as he kind of takes in Fernaleus's features. I haven't decided yet.
He says, that is thank you for considering it for a period of time. Do you remember much of my mother, Neva?
I don't think I've given you permission to ask me any personal questions, child.
I apologize. As a scholar, I am just naturally curious.
Talalak just looks on and with this look at Ridian like, oh, please let me punch him, please. There's so much aggression in the warden somehow in his ancientness that he has to get it out. But Ridian just puts his hand up. What else do you know about this place? And he's not asking Fern specifically. He's asking the party.
Fern looks at the two companions and he says, I only know very little. I have seen a map. I know that in this place, the lords are vampires. As far as being able to place it on the larger map of Arclenor, I could not do that. I know it has to be within a certain distance of I know it is south and possibly a bit to the east of Felport, but that's all I know.
The elder vampires look at each other and exchange some words, again in a language that you don't understand. And Ridian cocks an auburn-colored eyebrow, and he finishes something. He looks at Amorous. You're Dawn Fairfolk, aren't you? You're very far from home if you were in Felport.
I travel a lot.
Have you ever come across this place?
No, and if I ever get this be damned anklet off of me, I'm probably never going to visit again.
They exchange some words again. Tlaloc actually kind of, he responds with this tone of like, oh, yeah. And they clarify some things with each other. And Ridian says, tell us how you came to this place. What was said?
Well,
We have some gaps in our intelligence here. Let me tell you what I know.
Story
Adra
time.
is, or was, until very recently, allied with Ophira in hopes to acquire new subjects to bring to Miserine. It is Adra's way to purchase thralls, feed them, clothe them, care for them, and give them a safe place to live under her not tutelage but care. The word that mortals would use is ward. His many wards.
Under her eye.
Yes, under her eye. And Ophira acquired many of these thralls, but she does not hold the same care in her black heart. And it was one of her underlings, as you come to know this Farad, who recognized Fernaleus. By the way, my child, that was not your name that I had picked out for you, but unfortunately, that is the name that your mother gave you.
He nods and says, I was her dead baby. Yes.
I'm aware. Dead baby you shall be until you stop breathing. Farad recognized Fernaleus and thought to coerce the three of you, or at least Fernaleus, to coming to Miserine and to stick it to me, I suppose. Farad and I we are not friendly. We never have been.
He hired us to come as both additional guards and also as to extent entertainment, as Amorous Thorn here is a very well-known minstrel and bard, and I sing a bit myself. Well, he sort of moves his mouth around a bit with the missing teeth. I did. And we were promised that we were coming to a place to explore new lands, and we were to be hired for a period of time. Does that
We
sound
were also told that if we wanted to leave, we could with no repercussions. And he looks over at Tane because he knows how pissed off Tane is at that.
Well, that's
yeah, I'm actually biting my lip.
Does Tane have a lip anymore? You've been biting your lip this entire campaign.
I heal really fast. Geets are very
Very resilient lower
resilient.
lips. And
Just the lower lip, though. The upper lip just stays gone once you get bitten off.
okay.
Yeah.
Talala
But
just smiles a fanged smile and says, "Well, boys, you've been lied to."
Well, that's
and
not
Albert's
the
next to your
first
cut and
time.
say, no shit.
I say that's not the first time, and I look over at Fern and I say, but I'm glad to see that Fern is getting over the double crossing that he did to get us here.
It takes some sinister level of skill to double cross someone and to make that person double cross their friends to get everyone into a situation.
Fern, he does at that word that he does. You see a bit of that old guilt across his face. He said, "I did talk them into it. My friends are well traveled. I had not left Felport and its invariants during my entire life. So I thought I was traveling with knowledgeable travelers, but apparently not. I can tell you the last we remember, we had ported at a small village, then wined and dined, placed within wagons along with the thralls that had been purchased, of course. We thought, in a position to help the defense of the place when some chicanery occurred and we were rendered unconscious and awoke. Sans wagons, caravan, Tane's mare, which I'm sure that was a mighty jest upon them as well. We found her pulling a cart later. And as I said, tossed off as if we were trash in a land we don't know, possibly hoping that we run afoul of the local wildlife, since the nearest village was being plagued by a ragman, from what I understand.
And that's where Tenelok found you.
And that is where Tenelok found us. So
You're lucky that Tenelok found you as opposed to anyone else.
Right. So that is how we arrived here. Since then, we've been living by our wits and our arms in some cases, and made our way finally to here. So,
Fueled by a little bit of darkness too, especially right now.
Ridian replies to that last comment, that saying there's no small amount of darkness in this place, especially this house. Miserine is a shadowy place outside of a place between two places.
that a academics check, or would that be a cult insight, or got a few things it could possibly be.
Whichever one is more advantageous for you.
Okay, that would be, let's see here. That would be academics. So that is going to be a 22.
It sort of dawns upon you that that wording means you're not where you originally thought you were.
Okay. He contemplates for a moment. He says, we're not somewhere south and east of Felport, are we?
You are nowhere near Felport.
He takes a deep breath, lets it out.
You three are strangers in a strange land that you do not belong in.
That is true. They don't belong. They don't belong.
My holiest of shamans. Rydian turns to Tane. Have you noticed that your Lady Agyun has a hard time reaching you here? And you her? Have you noticed that your mate does not have the same connection as she once had?
Yes, I've come across these. A difficulty, to be sure.
Have you noticed that your magics require more effort here?
Yes.
In your occult mind and teachings, what does that mean to you?
Well, I would venture a guess that we are on a different plane of existence.
You are very smart lads. Most don't realize that they're not home.
Are we dead?
No.
The Grey Lord would have informed us as much if that were the case.
Oh, you did speak to the Grey Lord here.
He
Well,
said we would die if we went to misery, not that we were dead.
Yeah. Got along
Oh.
famously.
Yes, Ophira was actually ready to have you all skinned, and as an insult to me, he he lets his gaze settle upon Fernaleus.
Quite the bitch.
Mm-hmm.
I feel funny. She wanted me to play for her even. Now I just feel like I should just knock her in the head.
Yes.
Rod
I-
first.
I hesitate to voice this, but
You may
Because,
speak.
I would love to see her throat upon the floor and her bleeding everywhere as her head falls over the back of her body.
Did you see that she was in the audience chamber with us?
I did.
Mm-hmm.
I did not though see Farad.
No. Farad is not here. It's a good thing, because I'd have his throat.
And I would be as a good son cheering you on, Father. So I'm saying that was Rydian, right? It said that.
Yeah, this is Rydian
Okay.
speaking. Yeah.
It says, and as a good, beautiful son, I would be cheering you on, Father.
Making up for all the years of absence.
Yes. I'm not, and I do apologize. I am not used to having a father. I have not had one in my entire 200 cycles.
That's evident.
So
Has it been that long already?
it has, yes.
Hmm. Time passes differently here in the underworld.
It is. I mean, it's, it is but a small thing for those of us of our blood. More than, what is it, Tane? Is that about 10 generations of your people?
Could be. Depends on the ancient ones. Some are rumored to still live within the caves.
He so Fern sort of nods a bit, and he says, "So." He looks over at his father and says, "So to save face, Father, what must be done with me that would be appropriate in the eyes of others?"
Well, my bastard child coming into my home uninvited without my knowledge. Amongst many other things, I should have you flayed alive, or just quite literally just killed because you are my property.
That's
I
what I've
am,
been
in
told.
fact, of the Ebon folk, albeit some cycles beyond the grave by now, and you are, in fact, my property.
So Fernless sort of nods as if he's heard that several times.
Mm.
Um,
In
he doesn't like
Philport,
being
children
property,
belong
but-
to their dads.
Yes.
They're,
yes.
for girls, it's worse.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
If Fernaleus was born a girl,
yeah. Bad things.
yeah,
So,
no,
you
disobedient little
nods.
rat.
Mhm.
And he says, well, he looks at Amorous. He says, Amorous. Thorn. Is that the same Thorn that I know, that I remember? Are you of the same people that I think I'm remembering?
There's only one Thorn family that I know of.
Good. The three of you need to leave Miserine and you need to get back to the realm of the living.
You actually see in Fernleus's eyes almost a being let down look.
Iridian will see this and he'll just shoot
Just-
you a black glare. I will not be negotiated with this child.
Okay. And Fernleus sort of nods. So you actually see him reach up to his collar and realizing that he no longer has his robe that is with the wagon that was used to cover him. And he sort of fiddles around and puts his hands in his laps and just bows his head.
And the only way that we can do that, he points to Amorous's anklet, is we get the master of the house to give you permission. I say master of the house. Moldark is master of this castle, but Miserine is his house. You understand? And without his permission, you will die here. Likely sooner rather than later. What this requires is a handful of other things as well as permission. Do this, and Moldark will quite literally let you go. Moldark is old, though, and he is aloof and uncaring, and none of the other elders want to cross him. So I can't help you with this. You will have to beseech him in private at your own peril and do what he bids you do. Then you can leave.
So our choices are risk our lives to speak to the elder here, the master of the house, as you say, who may on a whim choose to end our lives for sport, I would assume. Much as the elders of other places I have heard of would do. Or continue to exist here and lose our lives either way.
Talalok finally speaks and says, either way, gentlemen, you are dead.
Not yet.
Well, if I was a gambling man, which I am not, I would put my money, he looks over at Iridian, I would put my money on the Geet to see them through.
Fern reaches down and he went through all this problems he's been going through mentally and such. There's one thing that has stayed with him. Yes, he lost his robe. But one thing that is there is that satchel on his hip that contains his book and his tablets and such and his writing utensils. He touches that and he said it would be such a shame for this tale not to be read.
And for a moment, you kind of see the eyes of Tane flash, and as old self, and he kind of smiles and it said, "And it probably should be read by you, and sung by Amorous."
I got a saga to finish. I ain't done yet.
See, just for a moment, Fern's eyes looks over at Tane and says, "Amorous plays, I sing." And he's that little old Fern friend memory is there, but it goes back. And he looks and says, I wish to take my chance.
Yeah, and the darkness creeps back in, and he says, "And you should, considering who brought us here."
And Fern looks over at Tane and said, "And who will get you back?" So he looks over at he sort of leans back in his chair at this. It's almost as having that vision forward, giving just a slight bit of possible confidence. He looks back and he says, "Well, Father, how would you suggest I proceed?"
Go out into the hall. Ask the herald for an audience with Moldark. Tell him that I sent you.
Okay.
Ask for a private audience, should Moldark wish to speak with the three of you. He very much likes mortals. I don't know why.
They can be fun. You should come to Teleport sometime, Father. You may find it entertaining.
Because we have blood. That's why he likes us.
It's more than just dinner. It's pieces on a board he likes to speak with and put things together. And it's an odd and almost sadistic, filthy attraction.
Fern pauses for a moment, looks at, and he sees where the gears turning in his head. And he says, I thought in my addled state earlier, I may have heard music. Does Moldark favor musicians and music? Entertainment?
He likes the singing of Fae in autumn under the stars. He shoots Amorous Thorn a look.
Mm-hmm. He looks over, in that case, Fern looks over at Amorous too and says, "Well, my friend, maybe you should go. I've already been humbled at his feet." And he glances over at Tane and says, "And Tane is not quite what you would call a courtly fellow."
I don't know. He seemed quite gentlemanly when he was before, and he gave me your teeth, which I will be holding on to.
As a father should. Did he keep any?
I don't know. Did you keep any? He turns to Tane.
That's a difficult question to answer. It's hard to say, considering they were broken up so well.
Oh, a memento. Perhaps a memento mori if Fernlaeus dies. Your father says that a little too cold. I'll put that out there. He says, "Oh."
Don't worry, Fern's used to it from his mother. This is nothing new.
I may be able to. I just had an interesting thought, though. If I could, I might be able to craft them into something he could put back into his mouth so that he could use them to chew again at some point.
If they are the teeth that you gave me, they should grow back in a few months. He won't need any more. He'll be drinking his wine from the left side for some time.
Yeah, it's applesauce.
Mm.
They will come back. I've had teeth knocked out before. They do eventually grow back. So you don't spar with a master swordsman and not lose teeth occasionally. So
Yes, I'm placing you three under Talalok's custody, his supervision until you leave this castle, however.
Fern looks over to Talalok and nods and says, "Thank you for your protection," I guess would be the proper term, Sir Warden.
He cocks an eyebrow at you, and you're lucky I don't kill you when you leave.
I will do my best to earn that. So, I think Thorn should be the one to go before the Great Lord himself.
I think that you should let the minstrel plan this next move.
I think so.
Yeah, it's time for a
may
solo
be
act.
my child, but that does not mean you have power here, boy.
I understand. So,
Amorous,
That's
your
evident.
move.
He said he need to go talk to the Herald and request an audience with Modark.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other etiquette I should be aware of during this?
Remember that you are a Fae, and he is a vampire older than Fae.
Yeah, I kind of figured that part.
And with that, Rydian leaves. Just fucking leave.
What's the warden's name? Tagalok?
Talalok.
Talilok. Okay. Make sure I didn't butcher that. I'm gonna look for Talilok.
It's in the chat.
Okay. Huh, 2 locks we know now. Fascinating. Should I go in unarmed or does it not? I know it probably doesn't matter, but would it look better if I went in unarmed?
He admires boldness.
Okay. Speaking of being armed, Tenelok has that glorious weapon of his that he said may or may not have been made in this particular area. Do you know anything about that?
Talalok's gold sword?
Yes.
Talalok just looks down. He brings his war sword from his belt, and he disengages it from the scabbard. It's made of the same alloy. Yeah, click. What about it?
How do we procure some of those?
That's going to be asking quite a bit.
I was just asking now before I got my hopes up.
I don't know. Normally, the more trusted servants of the master of the house are given such arms.
That's all I needed to know. Amrit would look to Fern and Tane at this point, but do you have anything else needed? I'm just going to go try talking to this Herald now. Because I either need a drink or I need to go play. I'm getting antsy staying in this room.
go play, my friend.
I think we'll be fine. I have Fern's weapons in my control. He will not attack me.
I swear you two are worse than children some days right now.
Bite your tongue.
I'll bite my tongue. I'm pretty sure I'm older than both of you. So, no, I will not bite my tongue.
I can't tell Fernaleus to bite his tongue right now. He'd just gum it.
Talalak just
Talalak-
shakes his hand.
To play the ignorant minstrel in a castle for the first time, where is the herald located at, or is it simply in the hall that we were at?
He points out the door. He'll be there.
Thank you. With that, Amherst is going to bow to Talalak, give a nod to his compatriots, and walk back out the door.
The troop of guards that was there previously is still there. There is one vampire, lesser vampire, that more lavishly dressed than quite a few of the guests, and you know him as the herald. He gives you a fanged smile. He says, what have you come for?
It froze up on my end. All I heard was Fang's smile. I didn't hear anything else.
Oh shit, did it actually cut out on me? Yeah, he addresses you. And name?
Thorn, Amherst Thorn, humbly requesting a audience with Modark if possible.
He goes in the chamber, closes the door behind him. A few minutes later, I should say, he comes back. The master of the house will see you.
Appreciate that. Does he lead me back there, or they just kind of part?
He opens up the door, and when you both enter, he kind of calls into this wide open gallery, and it echoes, it reverberates, and it'll fuck a couple of bats up there, and then you hear some screeching and the fluttering of wings. Amorous of the House of Thorn approaches, and he closes the door behind you. Amazingly, now the room is empty, save for the master of the house.
I will, not slowly, but with purpose, walk up to the bottom of the stairs on his dais. Bow my head. And I will actually essentially do that whole, like, my head's down, but I'm looking up thing for him to basically acknowledge me being there.
He lifts his hand.
And I will stand back up. He will actually apply the almost a parade rest position. Does Modark say anything, or does he just wait for me to start talking?
He's waiting on you. He's got all the time in the world.
Oh, I know he does.
So do you, technically.
Yeah, right? I mean, we could just stay here for a while. It doesn't matter to me anymore.
Yeah,
So,
you're both ageless.
right.
I'm cool with that.
He will actually look at Modark's face. Like, he's not, like, he's going to, like, trail up the staircase, up along the body of this man, but he will actually settle on Modark's face. And just as the vampires like to give their fangy smile, he will give that trademark Thorn half smirk. And he will look at him. Right. He'll look at him for a second. He'll be like, as much as a minstrel has a reputation for bullshittery and flattery, I am not here to do that. I was going to say, I'm not here to do that tonight, as I tire of all the crap I've been through since arriving here. So I'm going to make this short.
He just leans back in his chair, cuts you off, and says, as do I. As do I.
Oh, good. Kindred spirit. I like that. What do
Before
we
we
need
continue our business,
to...
before we continue,
Yes.
how fares your cousin in the woods, the one with the rainbow hair?
I have not seen him in many cycles.
Why the hell not then?
I travel, he travels, we never seem to cross paths. The Grey Lord asked me about one of my brethren as well. Apparently we are known far and wide, and yet we never seem to connect when we need to.
There are a few thorns in a wide world. It's very hard for one to find another in the same kingdom, let alone the same room.
Well, if I ever do see him, I will give him your regards if that is your wish.
Please do.
I will. So, to cut to the chase, what do we have to do for you to get your permission to get these bracelets off and to leave?
If I could take your anklets off of you right now, I would. I did not ask for you to be here. This was against my knowledge.
Oh, that's not good.
No. And I know everything here. So you'll understand why this I find very irksome. He leans forward in his chair, almost like oh my God, a sinister old owl. And he blinks very slowly at you. The sorcery that is used to bind mortals to this realm of the underworld has been stolen from me. That is why mortals can enter the realm of the dead without being dead and expiring. Without these anklets, you cannot survive for more than 3 days here. You would turn to ash and you would be nothing. Even your very soul, your inner light, is gone. I am a lord in my high castle, and my subjects connive behind my back.
Cut off all their heads. Start anew.
You see, I wish I could do this. But some of them need to be made an example of. You can understand this.
So skin them, salt them, then take their head off. It's one of the few times you actually see Amers be a little bit sadistic.
He leans back in his chair. I cannot do these things. But you can.
I bet I need 2 guesses, but I only take 1. I'm assuming Farad and Ophira are to blame for this?
They're one of many.
Ah.
Farad is indeed the thief. Ophira is the one that holds his lead. And you'll understand
who's
why
the
I
head of the
cannot just
snake?
act openly against her.
Is she the head of the snake, so to speak?
It is a multi-headed serpent, but
Of course it is.
one specific task I need from you
Mhm.
before any of this gets taken care of. There is a being in the north and to the east that he is preying upon my subjects here, but he is somehow able to mask his presence to me.
This wouldn't be the hunter that killed the Leshen, is it?
No, I was told that that presence has been taken care of.
Oh, good. I'll make sure I let my compatriot know.
That corpse is drowning was drowned in a bog, and he is currently being encased by the peat and the mud.
Yeah, I wonder what the Grado is going to ask in response to that one. I'm sorry. That was kind of like half under his breath.
This is what happens when you make pacts with beings that you don't have business making pacts with. He just looks down at himself, and then he looks back at you and just smiles again.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we all know how that one goes from time to time.
But in this special situation, you do have business with me.
So to the north and to the east.
North and to the east. They're raiders on horses. Somehow they can mask themselves to me. I would like for you to dispose of them.
As you mentioned raiders, you just see him draw one of his ebon daggers. I can usually take care of raiders. And he sheaths it back up on his arm.
I had felt that you had injured your arm fighting amongst brigands.
Yep. It's slowly coming back. It still hurts, but I plunged my dagger through a couple of them in the meantime.
I could also fix that for you.
Let's talk after we get done with this job.
I can accept those terms. Once you get rid of these raiders, I will tell you how to break the sorcery around your bracelets, and then I will send you home. Do we have a deal?
We do. Do you have anything else for me before I leave you to your night?
I will give you one additional sweet thing for this deal. Should you find yourselves with your hands or your claws or your hoofs upon the neck or the back or the throat of Farad, Ophira, or any of their people, and are at a loss of what to do, you could take solace in the fact that I will look this way. And you may do whatever you wish. And he smiles evilly.
With that, you see that full-on Thorn smirk. He doesn't actually acknowledge it, but he smirks, gives a very deep bow, and unless Modark calls him for something else, he will give that slow turn and walk back out the doorway.
I hope the shadows keep you safe.
And Amos will nod to that as well as he's walking. And as he hits the door, and I'm sure before the herald would open it for him because he knows he's right there, he will do like the half turn. When I return, and I will return, I'll make sure I play for you what happened.
Oh, please do.
And then he will walk out the door.
A cackle follows you out the door. A maniacal Joker evil cackle from the depths of the underworld. The herald closes the door behind you, and he just gives you this, like the vampire gives you like a cold look.
Almers is just going to look at him and be like, I told him I would play. And Almers is just going to walk back to the waiting room.
He just follows you. So we can reconvene in the scene. No rhyme intended there. Back in the audience, the lounge area.
Tane has been inspecting Fern's weapons.
All right, fair enough.
And kind of has he's kind of got his side turned to him and sort of turns his back on him, kind of like inviting him.
Fern watches this whole thing with Tane, which looks over to where Talalak is there. He's still there, by the way, Talalak, or is it just me and Tane in the room together?
No. You guys are being babysat.
He looks over at Talalak and he says, so what, if I may ask, Mr. Warden, what must one do to regain the right to bear his arms?
It is interesting the way he has that S sound every time he talks now. I can't get over it.
Leave the little beast be. He's
It's kind of an improvement.
Enough indignities today.
You're probably right.
He specifically does not answer your question.
Okay. So Fernley quietly sort of sits there, and after that whole short discussion between Tane and Talalak, and
Amorous enters the room.
And probably about the right time that Tane turns around and says, it would be, I mean, they might actually get some use this time if he uses them. And he's holding the broadsword.
Amers walks in still with that God be damned smirk of his. Well, boys, I got good news and I got bad news.
Sounds like our whole trip.
yes,
Isn't it though? Which one do you want first?
Give us the bad news first.
Well, bad news is the power to do what we want done is not in Modark's power.
oh, wonderful.
Apparently it has been taken. Yeah, I know, that's what I said.
Doesn't that just seem like the way of things these days?
Yes.
Right?
Let me guess. That power now resides in the hands of one Farad.
Farad was the thief,
Ah,
but unfortunately it is not a single head holding the leash.
so it would be Farad, Ophira, and possibly the others that are involved.
Kind of a vampire hydra.
Seems to be.
Right? We were asked that there are raiders who like to go by horseback to the north and to the east, as well as a lord that for some reason are able to hide themselves from Modark.
Hmm.
He says if we are to take care of them, he will hopefully be able to reveal the sorcery behind everything and get these bedamned things taken off of us, and he will send us home. He actually did not want us here to begin with. So they have actually pissed him off in them bringing us here. Which actually brings me to a spot of the good news.
Fernley actually grins a snaggletooth grin.
Geez, I can just picture that too.
I know.
Get ready for the whispers again.
Out of curiosity, Rafe, could they hear Modark's laughter when the doors opened?
It's just a privacy curtain between your little like alcove lounge area, the hallway, and the antechamber. So you guys could absolutely have heard cackling from beyond the grave for just a few moments as the door shut there.
Is the Herald still behind me, by the way?
No, his job is to stay at the door.
Okay, because you told me he followed me for a little bit, so that's why I was wondering.
No, he opened the door, and his gaze followed you.
Oh, gotcha. My bad. If we are to locate Farad, Ophira, or any of their other acquaintances that have basically been proven in their duplicity and, well, I guess at this point it's a freaking mutiny against Modark. Modark didn't see anything. Modark didn't hear anything. Modark doesn't want to hear anything. Unless I'm singing it to him. Then he started cackling his freaking head off, which is hilarious. So take that as you will. But yes.
Interesting.
And I will actually look to Lilac after saying all this. I assume we have a spot to pick up provisions, and do you know anything else about these lands to the north and east he referred to?
It's the loping plains beyond there's a ruin out there. It is not inhabited by any of us, but between there and here, they're fell and dark places. It's many hauntings, many devils, many horrible things. But as I said previously, if I was a gambling man, which I am, my money's on the Geet to see you through.
Are there by chance chambers here we might catch or might be able to rest for a bit? Our Geet friend is, well, he's barely on his feet, as you can see.
Are you certain? He's been standing this entire time.
Is
My
that
head is pounding, but it's probably not hurting as bad as your mouth.
it is his Geetish fortitude that allows him to stand such? I guarantee you a mild breeze would probably knock him over at the moment.
Well, thank God you haven't farted.
A small child could probably beat him in any manner of combat at the moment as well.
That's enough out of you, bastard.
Here.
As you wish. I do have one question though, Talal. I assume as the warden here, you may know a bit of this. This is just one question that may actually help us execute your Lord's activities that he wishes us to do.
On one condition.
Yes.
You stop talking after this.
I will.
You may ask.
Thank God.
If we were to remove Ophira, who benefits?
That is none of your concern. But you would think that Moldark benefits because Mizarine is at the foot of the Great Stairway in front. He simply gets the seat of his castle back.
Fernleas nods. I was only, and I will, after this explanation, I will seal my lips. I was merely wondering if there might be additional layers to this game that they're playing that mayhap someone might be working from behind the scenes to cause trouble and gain influence over the others.
A minute there, I thought I saw a flash of intelligence, but then you're asking questions that you already know the answer to, friend.
Some. Obviously, my father gains because one of the rivals has been reduced, but so do several others.
You are a smart lad, despite how you came here.
A druid gain. Regan gain. Thus, I think it is time we do two things, my friends. But I will not speak of it, for as I have given my word to Warden Talalak that I would shut up after this. Thus, he shuts up.
Talalak, might I ask, do you have someone skilled in the art of apothecary?
I am.
I ask for the fact that it would be nice to clean the bandages and see to my wound, and we probably should see to Fernaleus's mouth.
Eye.
Oh, his eye will be fine. And his mouth has stopped bleeding by now.
But a poultice for his mouth would be perfect. Like a ball gag.
Fernleus raises one eyebrow but does not open his mouth.
You understand that it is my job to care for the individuals that feed the rest of us. Yes, I can see to and clean your wounds.
I tried my best, okay? Okay.
He did amazing for one coming up in the skills of apothecary.
Fae are naturally adept healers, but he is not without skill.
That's what the ladies all say. His fingers are amazing. The calluses.
He just he just walks over and just grabs your tunic and just kind of like pushes you down onto the sofa. He takes out a ebon and gold alloy dagger. He just cuts the bandages off of you and just kind of drops it on the floor, and he sets to work on you. He actually takes like the tip of this long, slender dagger, and he just kind of like lifts a skin flap.
Not much left.
No, we should get rid of this. It's going to get infected. And he just starts cutting.
And I'm just gritting my teeth, like staring at Fernaleus.
Put Fern's dagger hand hilt into his mouth.
Fernaleus just sits
Bite
back.
down on this.
He sits back, laces his fingers together on his chest, and smiles and watches.
I should get some wine for this and kill off the bacteria. Thorn, give me that decanter there.
Give it to him.
He just pushes your head forward and just dumps the whole thing on the back of your head.
Oh, now I just need a drink and some food.
I'm surprised you can eat one of those things. He's sewing you back up now.
Yeah, I would imagine the skin puckers on his neck because he's got to pull it back together. So he's not choked, but yeah, he's got very tight. If it weren't for his beard hanging down, you'd see this like his Adam's apple just glaring like a viper's
it's like
head.
Edgar from Men in Black.
Right?
Did better? Move on.
Yeah, what he's gonna do? He's got Plus 11 to his apothecary. Actually, very nice, very well done. He kind of gives you a 35 minute once over. He's cut off the dead skin that would get infected, and he's cleaned you up. I mean, there's no painkiller. This is excruciatingly painful. And then he gets you fresh white linen bandages, and he pats you on the shoulder, and he says, "You don't get to wear a helmet until this is healed." So next time you find yourself in a fight, mind your head, lest you lose it.
It was unfortunate the way that shot came in.
Mm-hmm.
Had it been for my comrades, it wouldn't have happened. He's still staring at Fern.
He just nods, and to add insult to injury, because Tlaloc does not like Dhampir at all. He cleans his knife on your tunic.
It's still a little bloody. It's understandable. Thank you for the fine work.
No, don't you two touch that.
As he's saying that as he's checking the stitches and stuff with his hands.
You've got like a linen gauze hood going on up here. You look like hell. Quite literally, you just look like hell. It's
this is where
my eyes and a beard coming out of the
This is where my I've got this sort of shoulder fur that I wear. I can actually reverse it and sort of wear it like a hood.
Yep.
So I can actually kind of put it over my head so you don't have to see the nastiness on the backside.
I'll show you to your apartments. He will lead you to a chamber in a different wing of the castle. You find that you could easily get lost here, which has 3 beds in it, a lock. It's a very lavish apartment. A writing station, an armoire, everything that you need to bathe, take care of yourself, and sleep. Quite literally could be the apartments of a king or a queen in a civilized nation. Very out of the ordinary for the 3 of you who come from semi-primitive or lower class, I suppose, lower caste backgrounds. I suggest the 3 of you rest and then set out to find these raiders.
Where we're standing, can I feel my connection with my mare, my mental connection?
As soon as you get to the apartments, there you can kind of sense like that Jedi sense of like, oh, there's another one over there.
And I just kind of send out that question of, are you good?
Yeah, everything is fine.
All right. And I kind of smile and...
She might be getting fat, though.
Again?
Someone is being fed, and fed well.
She does like to leisure. He looks over at Fern. You were about to lisp something?
He just sort of smiles, shakes his head. And he goes and finds a bed and starts getting out of his armor.
It is at this time that Tlaloc actually leaves you.
And he'll strip out of the armor and the undercoat and stuff like that. And he is going to basically get his outer clothing off. Is our stuff from the wagon here, like the rest of our clothing and stuff?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
He's gonna go
your
over-
clothes and your
Yeah.
I suppose your daily things, not your supplies and
Right.
cart,
Yeah.
no.
Because we had gotten spare sets of clothes and stuff like that. So yeah, he's going to go and find himself a spare set of clothes that's not covered in blood, and travel stained and covered in bog water and whatever else. And he'll also, hopefully, they brought up his tattered robe. He'll also go over and get that, and he'll sit on whatever bed there is. And he'll turn around and he'll say, what are you referring to, Tate, as far as me lisping something?
Mm-hmm. Your speech. As he turns to Amorous and says, as soon as you get when you are ready, I will take a look at that shoulder of yours, see how it's healing. Could we have asked Talaylock for some, maybe an extra poultice?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, he will leave you. Well, that's not a very good roll. He'll leave you a set of 3.
Okay.
I rolled a 1. I was like, he's not going to leave you just 1.
And if
He's
he
a
looks
dick.
over,
He's not.
it's not the overseer.
No, right?
He looks over at Fern after he says that to Amorous, and he says, and if you'd like, I'd be happy to inspect your toothy maw.
I think I'll be okay, but thank you for your concern.
Good.
I think I may know a way to find who we're looking for Rod at least. When you're going for a bigger, I guess, bigger personage in a hierarchy, it's always easier to get someone of lower rank first. Yes? Is that what do you guys think about that? Fern is going to sip a bit of wine and wince at the pain.
How's that feel?
Oh, it probably stings quite badly.
Oh, it tickles. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. I'm glad it feels good.
Mm-hmm. If Ophira is here, and if, as I think, Farad may be nearby, then there may be a servant of theirs we can possibly wrangle to find out more about what's going on. Possibly put the screws to him, if you will. Do you all remember the Dompier Balinor who was with them? Bit of Weasley fellow. Seemed very, very terrified of Farad. Almost in awe of him.
Amos would kind of rack his brain, because I honestly can't remember. Is that the one that got killed off in front of us, or was that the other one?
Oh no, that was Oromon that died. He was a servant of. He was the one who was supposed to be watching over the other two and failed his duties. No, Balinor was Farad's man. Yes. I think in our travels, we may want to inquire about his whereabouts, which may be a little bit easier to find than, say, Farad or Ophira specifically, because they may have more defenses around them. As we have seen, a lowly Dompier may not be of much concern, but may have much knowledge. If he hasn't already been slain.
Oh, speaking of things being slain, Fern.
Yes.
That hunter apparently is no longer of this world either.
I thought so. I had a feeling, a dream the other night that may have occurred, but to hear verification is great. You actually see him shudder for a moment, not in pleasure, but as if anticipation of something that he knows he's going to have to pay at some point. So And he breathes out and says, nods and says, some good has come to this place at least. But you say our task is to hunt down raiders?
Yes, to the north and east, there's a lord. Apparently, there's a bunch of horseback raiders. And for reasons that befuddle Modark himself, they're able to hide their scent from him. So he wants them gone, basically.
That I can definitely do.
I mean, I have no issue taking out more raiders. I got plenty more daggers now anyway.
Yes. He, for a moment, looks at their gear, and goes over and picks up something that was in. Okay, you said we had our clothing and stuff like that, but would his falchion be in there?
No, just your clothes,
Okay.
not your personal effects.
All right. Okay. Okay. He basically reaches over as if he's expecting to be able to pick something up, which he normally could have done. Sits back and says, "Then I think we should get some rest. Get some food in the morning." And he lays back on the bed, puts his hand behind his head, and he says, "Tane, have a good night." And closes his eyes.
Thanks. It's about this time he's probably gotten down to his base tunic and his trews, and he looks to Amorous. Are you ready? Take a look at that thing.
No. No, but let's do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, Rafe, I know how many we have, but how many are we allowed to make with the apothecary checks?
Oh,
Because I have ranks in it now, so I can make
excuse
my
me.
own.
that takes a full day to create one with a successful test.
Okay. Is there a limit to how many you can have, though, is what I'm asking?
I'm gonna answer.
Or do they
that
go
with,
bad
with,
after a certain amount of time?
Oh no. I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna answer with a question. How many do you want?
Yes.
As many as we can do.
Considering this group, yes.
How many do we want? We want that many.
Is there a number for that?
So I'm also asking because on those rare times that Amorous might have a lax day or we have downtime, he is going to try to at least make a couple to supplement Tane or to use himself if Tane goes out of commission again.
Okay. All right.
I just didn't know if there was actually a hard limit to it or not, so I'm just trying to get logistics figured out.
Okay. As the night passes, okay, well, we will do that. But in the interim, we'll do a passage of time sequence here. All right, you guys go to bed, do your thing. Tane, you get 1 vitality point plus whatever. Actually, it was Talalok who actually worked his ministrations on you. You get 6 vitality back.
Thank you.
Despite being a vampire, Talalok has an amazing spirit modifier. Now then, so we can do a passage of time. How long do you want to take, hypothetically speaking, so everyone is back at full vitality? Keep in mind your natural growth rate and, healing rate and being tended to, light rest, that sort of thing. And how many poultices, obviously 1 per day with a successful test. How long do you want to do this?
I would suggest taking at least, say, 5 days, 6 days, maybe as long as a chain, 10 days.
Okay.
So allow us to basically get back into good health. and resupply, make all the things we need, stuff like that. That's what I would suggest. And gather provisions.
It must be unanimous.
That's what I would suggest.
I think half a chain would be enough. Actually, I think half a chain would be more than enough, as I do not want to tarry here too long, especially since Modark has given us a mission. About the only reason I would go that long after we are fully healed or up to that point is if we can get more information in the castle in the meantime, or if we hear of any other work, favors, double crossings that may be happening, so we can try to get more of the elders and elites in our pocket, so to speak. The whole we scratch your back, you scratch ours, and see who is still faithful to Rydian and Modark versus who is part of this coup that Ophira is trying to perform. But besides that, my whole thing is heal, get the hell out of Dodge.
All right, Dave, what's your vote?
Well, Tane partially just wants to agree with Amorous to disagree with Fern, but but there is merit in 5 days because based on the fact that it would give an opportunity to let Amorous practice his apothecary, and but the other concern is more Dave than Tane, is that if one of us actually gets overcome by the shadow and tries to attack the other one, because we've been kind of shooting off our mouths.
I got
Really?
that clap. I'll smack you with it.
I didn't notice that at all. I thought we were being very cordial.
Right.
I thought you guys were on your best behavior this entire time. And that's the overseer of the game talking. I mean, hey.
No, but I think about 5 days would be good. Gives us a chance to really get our vitality back. And considering where we're at, it's a matter of we're kind of, even though we're stricken with shadow at the moment, we have a brain still, and at least we realize that if we did some stupid like that, we would just get killed ourselves. So whoever won is going to die either way. So probably just for the stupidity. And then unfortunately, Amorous would just be the kind of get stuck bitch in it all and probably get killed too.
So are we gonna metagame our way through the fact that you two die, and then Moldark takes Amorous's bracelet off out of pity and tells him to get the fuck out of Dodge?
Oh,
No.
yeah.
Roll
No,
up new
game?
characters.
New game?
Reconvene next week.
No.
Like,
Worst part is that I can see Fern and Tane dying, Thane showing up, Thane and Modark saying, we want that one, and having Amorous as their own freaking personal minstrel the rest of his damn life. Especially since they both know Thorns, and they know the reputation.
That would be a bit of a twist, a fairy being taken by someone else as a entertainer. Anyway, instead of fairies doing it for mortals. No, so yeah.
But I digress.
I think half a chain will be plenty. I think. I agree. So yeah, unanimous. During that, during that time, basically, while they're dealing with their personal injuries and such, Fernleus is going to basically very discreetly and doing his best to be on his most polite as he possibly can, is going to look around the castle where he can go. And if he's allowed, he wants to get access to the library, if there is one.
No. You do not get to go to Moldark's library.
Okay. He'll ask, though, so.
The vampire guards will laugh at you.
Okay.
They specifically, I will say one thing that's particularly shitty in regards to Fernaleus. Now, I'm speaking to the party here. Fern is the one who gets babysat. He doesn't go anywhere without at least 2 heavily armed guards on his ass at all times. The rest of you can go wherever the hell you want.
Okay.
And you kind of get the feeling that it's because you're a half vampire. They don't trust you. They don't like you. You're filthy spawn.
Yeah, that's fine. So he'll talk to who will talk to him, who's probably not very many.
Mhm.
If Tlaloc comes back,
Which he does. He has to come back
Okay.
every day to see to Tane's bandages. After
And
5 days, he gets 30 vitality back.
and he
I'm
will
way past that.
he will ask Tlaloc on one of those days if he by chance knows of Valinor, if he's heard the name.
I know Balinor.
Do you know where we can find him once we leave here?
He's in the city below, in Mizarine. He's one of Ulfira's couriers.
I've heard, yes.
He's also a half-breed.
Yes, he is. He was one of the few who were somewhat nice to us during our, I guess, during the con, if you will. We were being conned into coming here. So,
That's because they had a job to do. That was fake.
Yes.
That was an act.
Yes. Okay. So if I were to inquire in the town once I'm allowed to go there, I might be able to find him there. Thank you very much. I won't bother you more. I know you're a very, very busy person. And Fernaleus is going to take the time to basically write out any of the things he has in notes and such, and actually start maybe probably about a chapter of his book.
By the way, as an aside, Rydian does not come to visit you.
Okay. I was after the first couple of days. At first he thought maybe he would come back. But after the first couple of days, he's like, okay, he's not going to come see me. Just like Mother. So, he's also going to spend at least one of those days studying the map that we have, and look into the map, especially the northeastern part of the map, and try to commit some of the landmarks that are listed to his mind and stuff like that. So maybe possibly try to plan a route. Traveling check. Oh, okay. Let's see. That's going to be a 17 total for that. So.
All right, go for it.
Okay. Yes, he basically rolled a 17 on the traveling to plan our route going to the northeast. So, and also to figure out provisioning. How much food and stuff are we going to need?
That's a few weeks on the road.
So-
Label it off as 5 chains.
All right, so say 21 total for provisioning.
Yeah, that's going to be 5 weeks on the road.
Yeah, so
You were about empty when you guys got to the swamp, I believe.
we were. I think we had 3 days left.
Yeah. We did not have enough to go backtrack to another town, so
Yeah.
we were basically out.
Just as an aside, who actually holds the mace?
I do, but me and Tane were talking about it, and he thinks that it's more fitting for me to carry it, so Amos is going to continue carrying it.
Okay, that's fine.
Not only for
Fernaleus
the
was
immediate danger, but it also is more akin to his hands, his people's hands.
Yeah, it's a fey weapon.
Which I will say that after carrying it for a little while, and he kind of thought he was going to keep it, I actually did put 1 rank into mace
Clubs?
weaponry for him, for clubs for him, so he can actually use it without floundering like, you know, an infant. So
all right, perfect. I will send you the stats there. You guys finish up your preparations, and we'll go to the next scene here.
Oh, just so you know, by the way, during that 5 days, Fernleas has reacquired all of his weapons from Tane. Unless,
Tane doesn't want to give you your weapons back.
well, unless Tane makes a high enough awareness roll to beat my burglary. Yes, Fernleas has had burglary since the very beginning. That's actually just an 18. So. He rolled the.
That's a 25 awareness.
Yeah.
You would have, you have taken it fine. So there's just back and forth me trying to get my stuff. Then I guess. Okay.
Yeah, I would imagine it maybe once or twice too. Amorous walked in the room with me cuffing him or something, like getting ready to hit him or something, and Amorous is like, "Wait, what the fuck?" Yeah, I'm gonna hit you.
Trying to regain my stuff.
Oh, for fuck's sake, children! For fuck's sake!
You'll get him back.
I leave for 5 minutes today. I'm gonna go play somewhere.
Okay.
Did they have any livestock they might give us?
Well,
It's a weird question, I know, but
why do you need?
because I might need a sacrifice.
All right.
If we were to have like a, they seem to be very aloof in their possessions. So I would think that if they had, you know, a bull or something.
They might use me from the larder.
They'll give you a cow.
Okay. So we might be able to try a cleansing ritual on the road. That'll put a lot on Amorous, but we'll see what happens.
What's being put on me?
Tane would take the opportunity to explain a little bit of the, not the intricacies of the ritual, but the fact that he would need someone to watch guard and keep us safe while I attempt to cleanse the darkness from ourselves.
Which he'd be all for because he wants his friends back. So.
Well, and Tane just doesn't like this feeling of fatigue and sort of uncomfortableness, like he's burning in his own skin, not just from the wound on his neck, but this shadow sickness doesn't make one feel very good. And there are moments where you actually, you know, we flash back in and out, and the shame of how we're acting is just, at least for Tane, is just, it's there.
Yeah, you despite the shit that you guys have been through, it's you guys are doing pretty well, keeping it together.
It's because the gate.
Right, of course.
I mean,
it's Geet.
Talaylock said that, right?
Oh, well, his money is on you.
Right, exactly. He knows. He's smart.
Where do you guys wish to go from here? You guys have had your 5 days. Get the hell out of Dodge.
I assume by now we have poured over the map, figured out our best laid plans. We have spoken to Locke about getting out of here in the proper way.
Yeah. When you guys are ready to go, you can summon him, and he'll actually walk you down to the place where he has your cart, your cow, and your 2 horses ready. What'll end up happening is he'll actually walk you out of the front door of the castle, down the staircase, and into Mizarine proper, with all of your shit there waiting for you.
We weren't supposed to go to Mizarine, right?
Oh, do we have a farewell party, so to speak, or are people leaving us the fuck alone for once?
In what fashion, may I ask? Moldark does not come and see you. No, hell no.
No. We're going down to Mizarine proper, essentially.
Yes.
Where
Walking into enemy territory.
Where Ophira knows we are already at the castle.
Yes.
Is anyone trying to ambush and or assassinate us is what I am asking.
No, Talalak is there with you. She would not dare strike against you guys if he's present.
So awareness, though, to see if there is eyes on us?
Oh, please do. Please.
That is a 14 for me.
Really?
Mhm.
Okay.
That is a 30.
Oh my god.
30.
He knows how many nose hairs are hanging out.
Oh, my head is also on a swivel more than a goddamn captain when he's in the middle of war right now.
Don't stick your head too far outside that tank. You'll get shot to death.
Yeah.
I have a 13 for Fern Last for his awareness.
Oh my god, you guys are oblivious.
Didn't roll very well.
You know what? We can blame it on the shadow sickness. The shadow sickness still befuddling the brain.
We're not.
Can't see straight.
We're not paying attention. So yes, a very familiar, very unwelcome face is in the crowd.
Which one of the 3?
It's Farad.
I'll actually just kind of.
Chains.
Huh?
It's the first time you've seen him in chains.
Oh, he's in chains?
No, in chains a week.
Oh,
in
chains, as in the
months.
time period.
Yes.
Okay, I get to know. I was like, why the fuck would he be in chains?
He's no, he's not in chains. He's at home. Why would he? Yeah, no.
Does he actually, is he actually there looking at us, or is he just in the crowd and I see him?
He's not in the crowd. He's in the street, standing there, watching you guys. And
Okay.
As far as you're aware, just you and Talalak actually see him.
As we're going up and getting things ready, I'm going to whistle toward those 2. As I'm essentially at the wagon, and then I kind of spin. I'll stop for a split second in Farad's direction, and then keep going to go around to the back of the wagon. As I do this, I'm going to unclip Terrible and have it in my right hand hanging down to where Farad can see it.
Attaboy.
Fern,
Now,
stop
this is
lifting your
just a
chain.
solid mace, not a morning star, right? This doesn't have a chain attached, right?
It is. Oh, no. It's a mace. It
A
is
solid mace.
a fey iron
Okay.
head with a wooden haft.
Okay. I was kind of looking for a change so I could spin it, but yeah, that works too.
No, it's not a flail.
Okay. But yeah.
So
And
Fern
that's
will
all I'm
stop
going to do.
looking
I'm not
at
going to do
Tane.
anything else.
Fern will stop looking at Tane, which is apparently why he didn't notice anything else, because he's watching Tane look towards Amorous and see what he's doing and look toward the crowd. So would that allow me another awareness test? Or
I won't make you roll for it. You're not being pressured into doing anything. Tlaloc actually places himself between you guys, Farad, and the cart, and he'll actually unclick like his war sword from his scabbard, and he just stands there. He's looking at Farad out of the corner of his eye, and he'll take his cloak off and toss it in the cart, and just sigh, look up at the sky, let the rain on his face. That's all he does.
Fern
I would
will-
imagine Tane and Fern are starting to realize what he's looking at now, right?
And Fern will
Oh,
look
yeah.
at Tane and say, maybe it's about time you handed me my sword back.
Yeah.
And he'll hold
At
his
that,
hand out.
he doesn't even look at him. He just chucks it to him as he draws his and just begins charging him.
Right there in the front of the castle. I love it.
Make a defense test, Tane.
I think I've got, that's a total of a 20.
A total of a 20. Okay.
Yeah.
Tlaloc actually steps in front of you, and he'll actually trip you. You'll hit the cobblestone, and he'll just kind of growl down at you. Not here. There's going to be plenty of time for that later.
Can I get a reflexes to see how well I recover from the?
Yeah, sure. You're not going to take damage on the floor, but yeah, you'll be stopped.
That's a 21. So
All right.
So I would imagine I don't
alters you.
fall, but I do this sort of pirouette in front of him as I hear him, with my weapons, and I just kind of put it back and just gritting my teeth. I'm already almost on the edge there, and I look at Talela, and I just move my head away because I don't want him to think that the rage is directed at him.
Oh, he knows.
And I just
the four of you glare in his direction.
and I just begin acting like I'm cinching my gear down as I just sort of like do the sidelong look. Yeah, very serious. As my helmet is hanging off my side and my fur cowl over my head.
Farad, being the absolute dick that he is, he smiles from ear to ear, and he bows very low and walks off into the crowd. And he fucking disappears like Hannibal Lecter. Right.
As he's walking off, he's like, "Save a dance for me."
I'm
Tlaloc
going to look around.
runs his fingers through his hair. We
Um,
got you out of this mess to begin with. Doing that now and here and publicly would throw this entire plan to get you three out of here into the bin.
I'll look. Fernlast will be looking around for Balinor, see if he's somewhere in the crowd too. By the way,
You do not see Balinor.
okay. Nods, belts his sword back onto his waist, and he'll hop up on the wagon like before. retrieve his robe, which I'm sure still a bit worn around the edges, and throw it on. Take a seat. Onward, I guess we go.
And with that, as you guys are leaving Miserine, I will call for soliloquies here. Keith, take us away here. First soliloquy of the night.
So Fernlass is sitting there on the little bench there at the front of the cart. As we're going through Misery itself, his eyes scanning the crowds, looking for faces that are familiar. One of the things he's also looking for the crowd is one of the things he always did when he was in Felport, and this is one of the many little picadillos of living the way he did as a poor scholar. Is there are times when you would come into contact with the criminal element, and he had to learn how to recognize them and how to properly deal with them, as it were, to just move around in society, and that's with air quotes, society. So he's looking for the street rats. He's looking for the pickpockets. He's looking for the, those that live below the surface in any city, any larger city especially. Picking out those few that might be of use and such, and that he reaches into his pouch at his side. He pulls out 3 ebon nails and looks at them. These can be useful and such. And as you're moving through a city and such on a cart, you're not really moving very fast. He leans down to a child, one that looks like he might be the kind that would be picking pockets or whatnot, hands him a single nail, smiles at him, and he says, "Find me tales of Balinor, and there's 2 more for you." And he sits back up and just sort of keeps watching as they're passing along, and he thinks to himself that the game is now afoot. We've been the hunted for so long, and worried that those in power would find us as either prey or playthings, which they did find us as playthings. But now we've gotten through that, over that hump. And now we're at the other side. Now we have a mission from the Lord of the land, the master of the house, as it were, and permission to go after those who have wronged us. So he's falling back on some of his old habits. If you want information, you pay off a street kid. They'll generally find things out for you. And they know where to find you as you're going. So he'll sort of sit back and think about, all the possibilities here of what he can possibly do to Balinor once he gets his hands on him. And some of that malice that has been building up towards Tane sort of bleeds off as a new outlet opens itself up. Yes, Tane's, the darkness within him, he does blame Tane for, because Tane is the one who held out that strip of flesh that caused him to fall so horribly far. But the one who caused it to happen in the first place, Ophira, Farad, and yes, Balinor, are now the hunted, not the possible hunters. And he sits back and waits to see if any of these little children come back and whisper in his ear, if you will.
We'll go to Tane Healthmane.
Tane has mounted his mare and is kind of leaning forward and whispering in her ear, just talking to her. And the reason that he's doing this is that she has been wondering why this cow is with them. She seems to have an aversion to this cow, and he is calming her. Not skittish or anything. It's animal. Animals are like that sometimes. He says it won't be for long. Everything serves a purpose. Agyun will be pleased. As he sits up and kind of straightens, he feels the muscles in his neck just explode with fire, the shadow that he's grown accustomed to. And he reaches back and touches the back of his head that he's delicately shaved down because he's had to. And he kind of lurches forward as they start moving forward, and looks over at his companions and pats his mare as in sort of a way of thinking, as she was the one that it was a strange sensation even for this world. The images came through his head as to what he needed to do and the path he needed to walk to be able to shed the darkness, or at least try to. But he kind of smiles his old grin, and even though his eyes are blackened with the shadow that's bleeding out, he looks over at Fern again with the smile of friendship. And as he's riding by, he clasps Amherst's shoulder, the good shoulder, the way he would. And feeling the purpose, too, that maybe it'll be soon. We feel like we have a path. We have a way out. He feels like he's rising out of a chasm, and his heart feels warmth. Still feels cold from the shadow, but more warmth than it's felt for a long time. As he looks over at Amherst and nods to him.
We will go to Amherst Thorn. Take it away, my man.
So, after everything at the bottom of these steps with Farad, even after he grins and leaves, Amherst actually never put the mace away. He actually is not going to until they are out of Mizarine. Though he does whisper a kind of silent prayer to Lekra, especially with the rain coming in, hoping basically that the rains help sustain them, guide them, and whatnot. Besides that, though, he gets up in the wagon to ride off with his companions, his head still kind of on a swivel, especially with how sneaky these, vampire, dampire, and agents want to be. But as they travel along and nothing happens, and he sees Kane kind of go back to his old ways, he sees Fern kind of talk with the kids, he relaxes a small bit. Maybe this is finally that breather they were looking for. So while he's not necessarily calm, he's not as wound up as he was a chain ago. He doesn't feel like he's on death's doorstep about to lose both of his friends because the shadows want to creep in too deep. So while he's not stupid enough to think that they're out of the woods, he at least has that optimistic side coming out again of, okay, we're on the up. Now let's go take care of business.
Beautifully said. And with that, the stage curtains will close on this session. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We will be back next week. Good night, everybody.